Auto overtime calculation, as the name implies, is a powerful tool for automatically calculating overtime based on user-defined overtime rules. Given the large volume of labor transactions that customers typically generate, automating overtime calculation is a huge time saver. Instead of manually calculating overtime every week for each of your employees and updating all affected personnel's records manually, this tool automatically moves time from the regular time bucket to either Overtime 1 or Overtime 2. Users must have security access to run Auto OT calculation. This option is located in the ShopPAK security dialog box. To define the days that constitute the start and end of your payroll week, go to the Define menu, scroll down to ShopPAK Options, and select the Miscellaneous tab. Auto OT calculation uses payroll week when determining which transactions are considered straight time and which transactions are viewed as overtime. Overtime factors are located on the Job Costing tab. Make sure they reflect how you want ShopPAK to calculate overtime cost. Before running the Auto Overtime Calculation tool, first set up your overtime rules. Go to the Define menu and select Overtime Rules. Decide what triggers overtime. If you pay overtime when an employee works extra hours in a given day, choose Daily. If you pay overtime when an employee works extra hours in a given week, choose Weekly. If overtime is a combination of both daily and weekly events, choose both. Once you choose your overtime basis, ShopPAK displays the corresponding threshold hours fields. Fill in the threshold number of hours for Overtime 1 and, if needed, Overtime 2. Auto OT calculation determines overtime for a specified week, regardless if your overtime rules are determined on a daily and/or weekly basis. Auto OT calculation should be run once a week after the week's hours are logged and prior to processing payroll. When calculating overtime for job costing purposes, you have two choices. You either spread overtime equally across all jobs that an employee worked upon that day or week, or you have ShopPAK simply apply overtime to those jobs that were worked once the employee crossed the overtime threshold number of hours. If you choose to spread overtime across all jobs, indirect labor operations are excluded when calculating the ratio of overtime hours to spread from job to job. Tell ShopPAK if you want overtime calculated for just time and attendance payroll hours, or if you also want to calculate overtime for job cost actuals. Last, tell ShopPAK if it should take non-work hours, sick, personal, and vacation into consideration when calculating overtime. The non-productive time option will only affect time and attendance overtime threshold calculations. Only labor actuals for employees that are set up as hourly will be considered in the overtime calculation. To run Auto Overtime Calculation, go to the Tools menu and select Apply Overtime Rules. ShopPAK displays a dialog box with a date range drop-down list based on how you've defined your first and last day of the week. Select the date range from the Select Week Of drop-down pick list that you want to process. Once the date range is selected, click the Calculate Overtime button. A warning message displays if ShopPAK detects existing overtime labor transactions for the selected time period. This is a precaution to prevent running Auto OT calculation on transactions that already have overtime calculated. ShopPAK prevents Auto OT calculation from being run more than one time to the same date range. A message is displayed if this is the case. As Auto OT calculation processes labor transactions, it displays a progress bar to keep you informed of the time remaining. It can take several minutes to process all of the labor transactions that fall in the work week you've selected. Be patient and let it complete normally. Upon completion, ShopPAK displays record counts and status information. As Auto OT calculation processes labor transactions, once an overtime threshold is reached, ShopPAK updates the transactions and modifies or creates additional labor transactions as necessary that record overtime hours. It marks all labor job cost transactions as approved. Several labor reports are available for both time and attendance and labor job cost actuals, so you can see the results of the auto OT calculation run. For example, run the employee labor actuals report to see how overtime was spread across jobs for the run date.